Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be demoing the various enhancements that we have made in order to make our dashboard more interactive. If you look at our current dashboard, they're really powerful at telling us about various anomalies in the data, be it errors, latency spikes, etc. But when we want to drill down into the data, that is something that is currently missing in our dashboards. So with this feature, interactive dashboards, that is something that we wanted to solve. So with that, let's dive into the demo. So if you look at our current dashboard, with the new features, whenever you are clicking on a particular data, a context menu would appear. Now this would show us various actions that we could perform on the dashboard with the data that we clicked on. So one of the few options that we see over here are view logs and view traces. With these, not only could we look into the underlying signal data of a particular panel, but also correlate signals. So what do I mean by that? When I click on view logs, so this panel is primarily based on the log signal. So this would, whenever I click on this data, it would take the internal query that this panel is built upon, add the clicked data's filters and open the logs explorer. So we see over here, we have the data, the trace ID, the service name and the pod names added to the query. So this is how we could directly jump into the signal data and check what the Explorer is showing. Not only that, we could also go to the related traces to this data. Now, similarly, not only this, if we look at another panel here, which is CPU usage by host. This is a metric-based panel. When I click on this data, we can directly go to the logs and traces of this data as well. So when I click on view traces, we're going to be seeing the underlying traces with host name, whatever we clicked on. Similarly, when we go on view logs, we could see the logs for that particular host. Currently, we don't have that. So this context menu would appear on all the panels that are created using the query builder. In tables in particular, we also have the option to filter the entire table by clicking on any of the fields here. So if I do this and do trace ID not equal to this would add this particular filter over here and we'll not be seeing that trace ID. Now similarly, what I can do is if I don't want to see the currency, if I don't want to see currency, so we are seeing no data here. We also have the option to reset query so that we could go back to the original query that was there present for the particular widget. So that we can again do different sorts of drill downs over here. We also these options that we are seeing over here depends on the data type of the field. So let's suppose that we have another table over here. So here we have, when I click over it, now we are seeing different values here since this is a number. So what I can do over here is I can filter it by code line number that are less than 489. So that gets added into the query, and we are saying the data that is less than or equal to 489. Now we could add filters the similar way here. We could now one of the other features that we have added over here is that we can switch to edit mode and save this query as it is. So if you have the option to you have the role access to edit this panel, we could go into the save view and we can just simply save this view. We could again switch back to the view mode and change the query back to what it was. So this was filters in tables. With these new enhancements that we've introduced in interactive dashboards, we have also introduced the option to break out by on a particular data. What that means is that, let's say that I want to click on a particular data and want to break it out. This would mean that I would want to slice this particular data by a different dimension or attribute. So let's suppose that I click on breakout by on this CPU usage by host data and want to figure out why the CPU usage is high for this particular host. I could break it out by the pod name, and this opens up the view mode with the new enhanced query, where now we are grouping the data by key pod names with the where clause having the host name that we clicked on. Now we can clearly see that the CPU spike was concentrated to just one pod. So this helped us basically figure out why there was an anomaly in the data. Now when it comes to dashboards, every team have their own workflows. So what they would want from a dashboard may be that they would want to click on a particular data and want to redirect to a different URL. This could be an internal dashboard or some external dashboard. With context links, that is something that we've introduced, and this helps the user create links from the context data. So what do I mean by that? I'll show you an example of what the context link is. So when I click on this data, we are seeing view metrics for consumer SVC2. So this was the service name that we clicked on. Now when I click on this, this would take me to the metrics page for this, but with service name added to the filter, showing me different metrics that we have for this particular data. So this was example of a redirection that we created with context links. We could also show I'll show you an example of creating a new link. So let's say that I want to create So I want to go to the views trace details page. When I click on a particular data, it should take the trace ID from there and open up the trace details page. How do we do that? So I'll enter the URL, and here is something that we have introduced known as the query variable. So trace ID is one of the fields that were available for us to use when we click on a data. So this is how we could use this. You can refer to the docs to figure out how do we create these URLs with different variables that are available to us. These could be dashboard variables, the field variables, or the timestamps as well. So now I'll create this and save this. So now if I click on one of the data and click on view trace details, we are taken to the trace details page for the trace ID that I clicked on. This is really powerful if we want to link external dashboards as well. For instance, someone would want to click on the data and redirect to check the incidents for a particular service in PagerDuty, or we could also have links for Jenkins jobs with service name and trace ID, etc. So this context link is something that helps us create these dynamic links. With our new interactive dashboards, we also have the option to filter our dashboards directly from the panel. So let's suppose I click on one of the data over here. We could set the service name dashboard to front-end proxy. So when I click on this, all the panels that are using this service name dashboard variable in their query automatically get updated. We could also unset this value. If I click on this, now I could also set it to something else maybe. So yeah, these are the different things that we could do with this. Let's change this back to all. What we can do also is we could create new dashboard variables directly from the panel. So let's suppose I want to create a new dashboard variable. So I click on this. Since there were no dashboard variables by this field, when I click on this, it would create a new dashboard panel by the name, and its value would be get driver. So when I click on this got created from the data that I clicked on. So yeah, this was cross-filtering using the dashboard variables. So these were the different enhancements that we have introduced with our interactive dashboards. This helps us better drill down into our data, not just show the whats, but also go into the whys. I hope this was helpful. Thank you.